the newbies. So to say they had a pretty significant impact is an understatement. Cafe is underway though. Let's get into the bans, Ace, and see what's going to be taken off the board on this one.
Good map to start with. I think on Cafe it's going to be plenty of open space for those gunfights as we get particularly any site that's not the top floor, and we're looking to move through those clearances of the floors, the big roam clearances. Ash is going to be the immediate ban. Real swing being taken to beginners there, Des.
Funny, actually, it's identical bans to what we saw the last time these two teams played on this map. That was at the US Division 2020 finals back in January. Oxygen banned Ash and Mira. TSM banned Thatcher and Wamai. So if history repeats itself, there should be a Wamai ban coming out. Nope. It's going to be the Goyo coming away. That one kind of a surprise because, as the guys on the desk pointed out, that is a Bolo favourite.
That's it. I mean, it was spoken about on the desk, but more particularly to whether it was going to be a target against Bolo or not, but TSM taking it out of play. There goes Mira, and that's going to be our banning lineup. Ash, Thatcher, Goyo and Mira. And there's only one thing left to do now, Des, that we've got those operator bans in. We've got the map bans, we've got the operator bans, we've got 10 players. We've just got to have the war of North America at the minute. These are the last two teams inside of the tournament. As we said, one of them has to go home here. It is best of three. Only one can progress to tomorrow.
Laxon was the real hero last time round. These guys played in a best of three back in January, getting 23 and 14 across the two maps. But TSM did take that one 2-0. We keep on speaking about the changes that have come through, and that is again the big question set on everyone's lips: is what impact can they have? We start off in Bar and Cocktail, the Mute and Mozzie comp being swapped in at the bitter end. We spoke about this quite a lot over the last week, that it's no longer the Jaeger Wamai meta permanently, although you are still seeing both here. It isn't coming down to Shields versus Jaeger and Wamai. That's a part of, or playing with that, sorry. The reason why you see Shields being so strong is because of that. Here I think you're probably going to see them go for this Mute setup inside a cigar shop on the sheer fact there is a Mute present, there's a Shield present, and there is Jaeger and Wamai. Their goal here is going to be to waste as much time under the red hatch drop for as long as they can, and then see if they can make TSM sweat a little bit as we get into the dying seconds of the round. Hopefully a man or two down.
Well, I want to give XR Troika a shout on that one, because he did say coming in that TSM's information game have been so strong on their attack so far. We've seen them running zero quite often to supplement that drone information as well, and he suggested that Oxygen might just take the opportunity to bring along the Mute and Mozzie to try and combat that information game, and he was absolutely on the nose, dead right with that one, as that is how Kino and Foxer start things off for us. Now then, I love this one, Des. Absolutely love this one. It's disgusting. Nobody ever expects it, and they really should do, because we've seen it time and time again. Foxer waiting underneath that hatch on the Mozzie. There goes the Nitro as the man comes up, but no, Merc just manages to dip himself away behind that crenellation, I think, and gets himself.
I think he shot it out, or someone shot it out at the very least there. It was kind of weird because we switched to him in the observer perspective as he was vaulting over the wall, and you don't really get the full animation since it's already began before you were on their point of view. But he did then flip over and was in a pretty stable spot. Shot the C4 out the air, won't be going down. So a nice try, Foxer, and at least giving TSM something to think about. But for now, at the very least, they look undisturbed by that setup. But now the next layer of the puzzle reveals itself, Ace. It's this muted wall that they're going to have to deal with before they can comfortably step their way inside a piano.
There goes one nade, there goes two to try and clear out that Mute jammer. They will be successful. We can see the electrification that just shows that those X-Kairos pellets are jammed at that point in time, disappears and are able to be activated. Bolo finding one onto Kino, and Oxygen need to hope that Bolo doesn't come in with the same sort of performance that we saw from him earlier. 18 kills inside of one map and very difficult to deal with. He opens things up here, but we've got one on either side, as Achieved has gone as well. So that is Kino and Achieved gone. 4 versus 4, 1 minute 30 left in the round.
I love our demo commented earlier on that those two have played on a team prior, Bolo and Kino being the ones that I'm referring to earlier on. Played much when they were much younger at this point. It's a much different stage to be sat on now than to be playing in one of the lower leagues inside of NA. But good coordination to start things out. Bolo swinging at the time that the push come in from the north side. And again here, finding out Yoga, the two newbies being slain here. It's like something out of Star Wars, Ace. Execute Order 66 or just execute onto the site. That also works too. The Jaeger pulling back, Merc stepping in, bringing down Vert. That's that's a couple of gunfights now that have gone TSM's way without so much as a whisper towards the opposite man. And TSM have just steamrolled their way through that first round. Very little response coming back from Oxygen.
I can tell you what, Des, it's getting loud in here already to begin with. That is one round on the board, and there is plenty of noise coming from those players. There is a lot of excitement in this one. These are two teams that face off regularly inside of the NAL. They are rivals, and they are both here to beat each other.
I really wish we had player microphones above them, just to hear some of the smack talk that goes down. Now, I imagine probably 98% of what gets said probably isn't broadcast friendly.
I'm sure it's very polite, Des.
I'm sure it's saying, you played that round down well. Thank you. I hope you're having a good time. I'm really enjoying myself. Thanks.
We're at the Invitational. This is awesome.
It's absolutely fun. It doesn't matter who loses. Nah.
We're all winners here.
We're all winners here. You can finish in last place and still get a medal. It's that kind of celebration. Now, they're here for one thing and one thing only, and that is to win. Fantastic first round coming out of TSM. And into round two for Oxygen. Again, a couple of those gunfights, 2 or 3 of them maybe coming out without even looking the right way, just quite simply being shot in the back. Now we step into the downstairs, though. Kitchen and Service, the cursed site in my mind. I think about the number of rounds that have been lost to a yokai hovering somewhere in the rafters inside a kitchen. And I get nightmares about it still, Ace. Fortunately, Nightmares will be held back at bay for a short time as it has not been selected by Oxygen. Instead, going once more in towards that Mute Mozzie setup with the Wamai still being present and Yoga looking to go and cause a little bit of trouble on that Vigil.
That's it. They've gone even deeper, Des, into this information denial, bringing along the Vigil this time around on Yoga and just trying to get him wriggled off into the map to keep himself off those cams. His ability is able to remove his visual signature from drone in for a period of time. He can't do it constantly, but it does recharge, does his ability once used up, and he can sort of repeat that process throughout the round and just keep himself at times away from the prying eyes of the attackers of TSM. But I tell you one thing they need to deal with this time, Des. They need to deal with Bolo. He was able to just play for absolute free from that rappel last time around. He got himself cheap and easy kills, and this time TSM, they're not messing about, Des. They're making very quick progress here, straight into Bakery. They've opened up those lines of sight through the Bakery kitchen as well. And this is very, very quick from TSM.
Playing a game of Monopoly here, forget about the top floor, go straight to go, and in this case, straight to the site. They said forget about the Vigil, he will come down a bit later on, but for now, not going to be a massive impact for us as we've gone straight for the Bakery wall. Yoga going to miss out on the chance to catch anyone on their initial push through. Kino, his counterpart, holding a little bit closer to the wall here on the smoke. We've seen quite a few smokes get involved in very early challenges, which has always surprised me because, again, we think about operators like the smoke, like the echo. You think about their power later in the round. It is exponentially stronger than what it is in the early round. He knows his pressure's coming through as the wall has been made soft, so he's got to be careful here because a well-placed grenade or even just stepping up to try and retreat or take a gunfight might find himself with 3 guns pointed back and he'd fall down to the ground.
Waxing on the Mozzie there, just working his way back down red stairs, but for the time being, he's just going to hold his presence there. I'm sure that TSM should be aware of that. 3 guns inside of Bakery here, all pointing in towards site. Kino's going to be full white flashed, but the push does not come at that point in time. Likely just looking to clear utility rather than to follow in behind those flashes at this point. Now Kino, he's going to open up with one onto Bolo from the smoke. Achieved his downed as well. Merc taking damage, and this is not looking good for TSM on the push, but Gio manages to potentially turn this around, but is downed as he tries to pick Achieved up. Yoga with a big play from above, and that leaves us now effectively in a 2 versus 4. 45 seconds left to go, and this is looking like a potential Oxygen round.
Bit of a Bakery slumber party on the go here. Yoga doing a lot of work from above, and they weren't expecting that angle to be held for so long, I think, or just didn't quite anticipate that he'd be able to find them. With the 2 going down, back on their feet up to about 20 HP as a grenade comes singing in. And at this point you think for Yoga, is it time to start moving towards red stairs to make something happen for him? It appears to be the answer. There's at least one man looking to push down. Not sure if it's Yoga in this case. Indeed it is. He finds Gio. Merc is pushing in and going quite aggressive for this one, but with 15 seconds on the clock, they've got to make it stick. He gets put in the ground as well. Oxygen just dancing around shadows here. It's like trying to punch smoke. Can't catch them. They keep on taking the long-angled gunfights, and they walk away the winner. A very passive defense, but one that said, you shall not step inside a Bakery lest you walk across our 4 cross angles being held.
Ultimately, Des, Yoga above in on the Vigil there was critical to that defense. Look how much impact he had on that round, and did he have to move? Was he challenged at any point? Absolutely not, and that is a problem for TSM. They decided to forego the top-down clearance that we often see when attacking Kitchen. We'll usually go into that top floor, move through, clear out train, clear out those rooms and get the vertical pressure yourself, but instead they allowed to leave it in the hands of Yoga, and he's hurt them with it, and I'm sure that they will learn that when they come to attack this site again, which they almost certainly will on this map.
It's always one of those hard questions because you look at maps like Consulate, for example, and the team won't always full clear it. They'll say, look, we acknowledge this aroma, we know he can come around and cause some damage, but we've got to put the focus on the site. We can't chase a Phantom all round long. And I think maybe that was part of their fear. Since he started out on the 3rd floor, by the time they committed to going for a bakery take, it was like, well, we can't exactly back out now and then go and try and play for the 2nd floor, else we've already consumed so much time, giving ourselves very little chance to, you know, make a good execute happen off the back of this one. And they thought, well, let's just see what happens if he's still there. It's not going to be a massive issue. Turns out it was. And they did take a couple of challenges through the reverse vertical angle, but did not come out on top. It's a big round by Yogro, and now we bounce back up to the top floor. Let's see if this time round Oxygen can hold it down without being picked off, seemingly unaware by the side of TSM.
Kino there doing the work of the attackers, opening up those hatches, but to be honest, it's quite a clever move, really, Des. There's absolutely no reason not to. You know, you're not wasting time by leaving them closed. It's going to take Achieved all of 2 seconds once he gets up there. That is what you do allow for. Foxer this time able to find that Nitro out of the hatch and onto Geo and Des. I'm surprised that TSM weren't just a little bit more prepared for that. Maybe go to the roof in a different direction. They've already tried it once. They know this. And then the 2nd kill comes in as well. That's Bolo this time. And he was, again, so critical on this top floor attack last time out.
There we go, you can see all those discs being catching things up. The frags grenades come running through just to try and clear out the utility side, but it's yet another C4. We commended TSM for this, but my God, they're eating them for breakfast this time around. Achieve steps in, finds one, but Kino still has Cigar Shop in his control. A man drops through, it's a shotgun to the face coming out of one of the newbies, and that is a very comfortable round for Oxygen, much better than round number 1.
Great round for Kino there, all played out of the Cigar Shop. Easy finish there. Achieve just sort of found himself in the middle around in no man's land, just pushing into bar. Managed to get himself one, but shut down quite easily. I like it from Oxygen, as I say, opening those hatches. It's interesting. You sort of think, you know, your gut reaction, the stock reaction to defenders in sieges that you leave the hatches closed, but there's no reason to. Like I say, there's so many options to open these up quickly. You're not wasting time by leaving them closed. Then it just gives you that opportunity. If anything, you can waste time for free. You can force the attackers round to an alternative rappel. You can have them taking that extra time, that extra care to get up onto the rooftop. If anything, you're going to burn time by doing it because they know that there could be explosives flying out of them.
Kino just made that look easy as well. I didn't see the C4 when it first came through from the little, like, cubby inside of Cigar Shop itself. He had the top right corner left.
Oh, it was great.
Open up ever so slightly enough that you probably wouldn't look at it and think it's a problem if you're on the attack, but on the defensive side, you know that you can squeeze the C4 through there onto the guy that drops into Red Hatch. Unfortunate, I think, on the side of TSM that it wasn't a double kill. Merc almost dropping down a second later on the Maverick, but managed to avoid catastrophe. For TSM, though, that's exactly how it ended, in catastrophe. For Oxygen, stepping down into, Reading and Fireplace, but it's going to be another vertical hold. We've seen this one a million times, Tim. You're looking to waste a bit of time on the top floor here, drain some resources of the attackers, and as their pressure starts to step up, you fall back down, you get onto the 2nd floor, and you retreat to site and look to play from there, with the attackers starved of drones, of utility, of time, or even better, of operators.
Yoga just looking for that potential spawn peak there, but as we see, TSM were well aware of the potential for that. Yoga doing everything he could to keep that covered up. It might not be something that everybody's aware of, Des, but if you stand the right distance away from a barricade, you can melee it out, you can actually take a chunk out of it without knocking the glass out. So you've got to have your attackers switched on at that point, because you take a quick glance at the window, the glass is still there, you think it's not been knocked out, no problem, but it has, and the barricade is missing, and you can still see through it. So Yoga doing everything he could to try and give himself the advantage in that early encounter, but TSM, they were alive to that. They were having absolutely none of it. Bullets rained up and forced Yoga away. Now they will spot Foxer up on the top floor here. He's on the Wamai, he's just underneath that skylight, so you'd expect him to be protected from grenades here, but we're going to find out as Achieve puts one in. There we go. That's exactly what you'd expect. It is the little warning signal for Foxer that it's time to move away from that skylight, Des.
Yeah, when people are throwing grenades at you and trying to, well, kill you, yeah, good idea. Let's get back on that one. If you're happy with the time that you've wasted and with the grenades that you've drawn out. It was only the 1, and I will give it to TSM. They've done well with the utility they've got so far to not worry about expending everything into trying to clear out the top floor, but there is still some work to do. There should be one playing in South Cocktail, and in fact, he's sat in behind a shield, and there's one also playing on elbow inside White Corridor. So still 2 members to force back, and these ones have got ADSs. It's like when you clear one level of enemies that are all level 1, and now you're stepping into level 3. It gets a bit harder, they've got a bit more armor behind them. It requires a few more skills to be able to get them cleared out.
Top floor clearance moving well as Merc pushes forward on the Maverick. The Hibana pellets will open up the washroom there, so that will force any defenders. There aren't any in there, but that's why they've done it. Now, we've got Jaeger playing down there on Lumber for the time being. Kino's going to push up to the top of White Stairs as well, so at the minute, Oxygen certainly not ready to give up this top floor presence just yet, but it might not be their choice, Des, as Bolo gets him with an opener onto Vertical, and here comes the pressure down into sight. Merc taking some chip damage off Foxer there. That's the Wamai losing health, and in comes the nade. Gio finds Kino. It's all going in TSM's favour right now. The nade will be unsuccessful, but Gio, he is more than making up for it here with a headshot onto Yoga. 30 seconds left to go, and it's looking a little bit tight inside of sight for Oxygen.
Man, he's been made to squirm here. Merc and Achieved have had so many chances to kill him, but he's like a rat that they just can't catch, Ace. He's dodging around everything here, Foxer. If he can hold on for a little bit longer, maybe deny this plant. They're not quite sure where he is at this time. Yes, he can deny the one. Does he know about the one to the right-hand side? No, he doesn't. Bolo's a little bit better. They step in for another plant. Laxin, the last man standing inside a fireplace, and he can't do a 1 versus 4 in that situation. TSM taking another round.
That first plant there, Des, that's just to bait them in. There's 2 left. They know that they're going to have to make the challenge. They've got all the vertical angles. That's, you know, yeah, if they don't choose to challenge it, great, we get the plant down, but the likelihood is they come out and get that kill. Doesn't matter so long as you pick up the trade. Played perfectly on the attack from TSM. 2-all after 4 rounds, Des. Dare I say it?
It's close. Don't start. Don't say that.
Dare I say it?
Don't say that word.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
Overtime.
Oh, he said it.
We did this last week where I think a game was at like 4-2, or even it was like 3-2. We were like, oh, you just get the feeling that overtime's on the way. Little did we know, 8-7. Happened, I think out of 8 games we cast, was it 6 went to overtime? It was ludicrous.
We had the highest percentage of the group stage casters for games that went.
Just saying, we're not cursed casters.
However,
but we might be cursed casters. You just don't know at this point. It would be great to see, and I'd love to see this one go the distance, especially after Liquid demolished Empire in the last series. We've got a bit of time to spare, Ace. We've got the whole evening ahead of us. Lots of time to see these 2 NA teams throw down and play things out a bit more. I want to see more of this play around the C4, to be fair, and I will commend Oxygen for that. I've talked a lot about Liquid and TSM as being 2 of the best teams that I've seen with C4s at the competition, but I think Oxygen are definitely doing, with I think 3 or 4 so far in the game, doing a lot to get themselves involved in that conversation.
Yeah, they certainly are. They've had some absolutely great throws. Particularly the one up onto Rooftop. I will come back to it. It's always a difficult one to make. Usually teams do expect it now, and catching somebody out as they're coming over onto the rooftop isn't always the easiest. It's mostly about timing more than anything, and they just caught it absolutely perfectly, using the sound in the game to just know exactly when the players are coming up and off that rappel and just catching them out with it. So for the time being, we're going to have TSM here attacking once again in round 5. They've got 2 more attacks to finish this off, and they are heading straight up to the rooftop. This time we've got Merc bringing along the Jackal, so recognising the off-site presence that Oxygen have been playing with, Des. We've seen it a few times. I commented on the kitchen defence, particularly of Yoga on the Vigil, and this time they're going to be trying to chase him down, and they are bringing the tools that they might just need to do it.
Doesn't necessarily indicate that he's got support here. You have got the mute sat right next to him with the jammer between the 2 of them just to help at least prevent any of the information coming in. One of those mute jammers pointed out already inside of Cigar, now dealt with. You'll find another one inside of L, one inside of Cocktail. Not sure where the 4th is in this case. Is it in inventory? No, it is not. So it has been placed down somewhere, maybe more looking towards site. But I like how at least this time around there's this full map coverage in a sense. The roam coming out from the side of Oxygen is quite committed, and TSM, rather than trying to bypass it and go straight for site, have read into that and said, yep, okay, it's time for us to go and fight. Vertical stepping up Brown, finding one, Laxing with yet another C4 kill. These keep on singing out for the side of Oxygen. They're playing excellently on the defense around those explosives that are very hard to answer for. And even with the one that TSM have shot out, other than that, being highly successful so far. They know that No Doubt is one inside a train. They want to try and pinch him in here, but they know that he's laid down. Can they see in through the window? Yoga gets a great reverse angle. TSM are doing all they can to try and close down the members of Oxygen, but they're just hitting the shots here. It's 5 versus 2, and it looks to be another round that should be going the way of Oxygen Ace.
It certainly should be. Not doing bad on the defense of Cafe so far. Charla just chopped down by Yoga there, and once again, the man on the vigil having a big impact on this kitchen site and just baits Gio into the dining room there where Fox is going to tee him up for a meal as he just puts him in the dirt, finishes the round, and that's going to be flawless for Oxygen in round number 5. They take a lead once again, Des. It's their final defensive round here in round 6 on Cafe.
I want to go back to a point that you mentioned a couple of rounds ago, actually, around the bait plant that came out. It was like, well, why is he planting there with 0 cover? Why is he just getting himself killed for free? And you said, oh, well, it could be down to the information game that's being wanted here by the attackers. They want to just bait out Foxer, find out where he is, have the rat reveal himself and kill him off the back of it. I was speaking to the boys from Parabellum yesterday, and they were saying, you know, sometimes we'll say to like Sona, just walk down this corridor. It's okay if you go down there and die, but if we're in a 1 versus 4 or a 2 versus 4, you show us where the guy is, we'll pay that price.
That's exactly it.
And they say
it's a live ping, effectively.
Absolutely. And it's all about, as the collective, the team being aligned of, it's okay, I'll take a hit to my KD, but it's not about the stats, it's about the round wins. Those are the things that really matter. And maybe those are the kind of things that you might see stepping into this game. It is that advanced level of selflessness that some teams will employ. Let's get, though, into the final round of defense. Oxygen absolutely sailing with the C4 kills to get things going so far. A couple of rounds going TSM's way, namely round number 1, in which they absolutely dominated the top floors. Top shot TSM, Oxygen in the back, more often than not. The other round, we remember how that one went down as well, but it feels like Oxygen have had the run of things. Really excited to see how things play out once we switch sides, mind you.
Got to talk about the entry as well, Des. So far, 4-1 in favour of Oxygen at the minute. Kino coming in with 2 opening kills. Fox and Vertical 1 apiece. There is only Bolo to pick up an opening kill on the side of TSM. So TSM at the minute in 80% of rounds, consistently playing from a man disadvantage, consistently playing 4 versus 5 effectively.
It's interesting how, for TSM, we have this conversation about the newbies, and then we look inside of EUL, for example, and we have that slight conversation around, say, Na'Vi. Look at the players that we always talk around there. Blur, Nay stepping up and going big, for example. We saw Joe step in last year and have a little bit of mild success. It does feel like this blend of experience and veterancy along with new, fresh gunners and what they can achieve as a result is the way to be going for a lot of teams, because those two teams are anything to go by. Na'Vi, the strongest, I'd say, in the minute inside of the EUL. Oxygen finishing first place in NAL. Goes to show that picking up new, fresh blood can be the way to go for some teams.
Bolo just hanging himself out there on the rappel, but well aware that there is danger on that east side, just looking for any potential jump outs to be able to shut them down. But none will come his way. Oxygen are playing this one patiently. They're not too worried about getting overly aggressive in the early rounds. We've actually seen quite late kill times for those opening kills. There's usually at least after the first minute, and that's just suggesting that Oxygen, they're not in a rush to get into fights here. They're happy to let TSM come into them, let them play into their angles and pick up the kills as and when they present themselves.
I was really hopeful we might see the super cheeky bout cam. I haven't seen one anything like it in the game except for here, and I think it was in APAC we first saw it, where you can throw the bout cam up through the skylight, it lands on one of the plant pots on the roof, and you can see the whole roof. It makes things like C4s coming up to skylight or onto the roof in general an absolute delight to watch, because oftentimes teams just have absolutely no idea they're there. We did hear one of those black eyes being shot out just a second ago. I'd imagine the one inside a piano has been removed. But then you are also looking at the fact that we have the Maestro on side, so there's still information to be played around here and a bit of utility to clear out on the attacking side as Bolo steps up and demonstrates exactly that.
There goes the evil eye, and we're down to 55 seconds right now, Des, and TSM are still looking to clear defenders out. They're not sure, I don't think, that there is one playing underneath, and that is going to be Kino on the Kaid, if my eyes serve me and I get the silhouette right now. How about that vertical? Catch this, says Merc, as the nade goes in, perfectly cooked. Kino tries to use that nitro, but will not be effective with it, as we've seen previously. But Foxer, he starts fighting back, gets one with the Aldo order on to achieve. The diffuser is going down right now, though, as Geo looks to confirm it will be successful. 4 versus 1. Laxing has got it all to do. It's unlikely that he's going to do too much, though, as he is now 1 versus 4. The diffuser is down. The angles are held. The crossfires are in place. He sees a foot above him, but he can't put shots down. He can't make any dent or progress into this comeback, and the shots will rain in. It feels like an inevitability at this point, a matter of time until he gets picked up. A nice shot, I'll give him that, on the white stairs with the deagle there, but it's going to be too little too late as he gets 2. But the time ticks away, as he doesn't have time to disable that activated diffuser. Merc ultimately finishes him with the pistol there. A valiant effort from Laxing, it is fair to say, but these two duking it out and finishing even Stevens after the half.
I think wanted to match in there with the pistol as well and just say, come on then, you got the deagle out, I'll get the pistol out, we'll have a bit of a showdown at dawn and see how things play out. But a good round from TSM. Charla, by the way, narrowly saving Merc's life, because Foxer, I thought, would have had Merc dead to rights. He was lining up to spray through the soft wall. That grenade, by the way, it's one of them painful moments where it should be a freeze frame, because Vert looks at it and just goes, oh man, you know there's no way you're walking away from that one alive. But 3-3 at the half, I think from how things have gone, TSM should be really happy with that. Oxygen have had some great defenses. I keep talking about the C4s. They have looked more in command on the defensive side, but the occasional round, TSM have just stood up and said, no, this is our round. We are fully in control of how Cafe is going to play out, and that is the kind of thing that helped them do so well against Makers. They said themselves, when another team has to play to our style, when we're running the tempo of the game, that's when you're going to see us win. But when we let the other team dictate the play style and the pace, that's when we'll fall behind. And you see the flavour of both of those things in the first half.
Absolutely love that nade from Merc. It just shows such a mastery when they're cooked to perfection like that, that they practically used as impact nades. It was, you know, it was on the floor for maybe half a second, if that, and Vertical, as you say, just didn't have any time to react to it at all. And in order to do that, you've got to understand so many things about the game, Des, particularly in that case. You got to know how long that fuse timer is. You got to know how quickly those grenades travel. You've got to be able to judge the distance to your target, and you've got to be able to mentally, very quickly, work out how many seconds do I need to cook this for to get it to explode as it lands. And doing all that under the stress of playing, it's great play.
If you could measure wind speed, he could probably be a great golfer once he retires from Siege. With placements like that, you never know where the hole-in-ones are going to come from. Now, let's see how Oxygen shape up on their attack. The Iana has been one that we've seen and spoke about an awful lot. Teams kind of preferring the Sledge as the go-to frag grenade operator, but alongside it, often bringing along things like the Maverick or the Iana. Yoga, almost being caught by a C4, by the way, did comment on C4's TSM's proficiency. There's too many short names in this goddamn game. TSM's proficiency with the C4s, and they've got 4 of them. 2 have now been used, and no one is dead. So it's not the end of the world. But equally, there are no Jaeger. There's no Jaeger, there's no Wamai. There's nothing on the side of TSM to stop those frag grenades that we just mentioned a second ago for Oxygen come singing in. And I also want to keep a close eye on the gridlock and where Oxygen choose to deploy those tracks.
He's got the replay there of the Nitro coming out. Yoga actually very nearly shot that out of the air. That was very nearly like clear pigeon shooting for him, but the explosion went off just before he was able to land his shot, and it did take a massive chunk of damage. Now Merc, he's been flirting with danger all the way through this round, playing underneath that skylight, but it's going to pay dividends, Des, as he finds an opener taking Foxy out. Now Bolo joins the party with a headshot onto Kino as well, leaving us 5 versus 3, and TSM are looking strong on their first defense to begin with. Might not have had the immediate success with Nitros that we saw coming out of Oxygen, but they're proving that there is more than one way to get the job done here.
I think Kino's just asking for that when he's not the one swinging out for the occasional shot, hoping to catch someone, but Bolo is. 9 times out of 10, Bolo's going to find your head first in that instance, and such he does. 2 versus 5, and I think for Oxygen, this round you're probably already putting down the pan and thinking about next round, unless something big can come out of these smokes and the frag grenades that sit in the pockets of Laxing and a Vertical, respectively. 60 seconds or so to play, Ace. It's a lot to do and a lot of people to be killing when they're the ones killing you first. Bolo putting Laxing down. Vert, again, not really been able to do too much, I don't think, here. Loses out in the crossfire. Charla stepping out to collect that final kill. A comfortable round for TSM.
Very comfortable, and Oxygen are going to have to show us a little bit more of their defensive spirit on the attack here, because they didn't really find a way into that one. It's going to be round 8 now as we move through. 4-3 we find TSM in this battle of the North American teams, and let's not forget, let's just remind everybody of those stakes. The loser here goes home. That is it. it. It is done. The next flight, you will be on your way back to Vegas. And either team is wanting that. TSM just seemed to me, Des, to be going. Oxygen have looked very good through the tournament, but for me, TSM are going from strength to strength as this moves on. And they're looking really dangerous. Oxygen need to be careful here. They can't allow TSM to get a buffer of a couple of rounds, in my mind. They have to keep this close. They could really do with just leveling this straight up now on Reading Room.
All 5 of those kills coming from those very narrow angles as well. Just the occasional pixel or two, a couple of shots coming out the end of the barrel, connecting onto the target on the other side. A few milliseconds more and those kills could have gone the way of Oxygen. That's just how close the game gets at points, but TSM just edging it out enough to get ahead. And I get what you're saying as well about TSM. We saw them last week during the group stages and said, man, they don't look as solid as maybe we would have hoped for. Lots of people will cry, oh, well, it's best of one. Of course, they're not going to look so good. Consistency between days is still something that can be replicated regardless of whether it's best of 1 or best of 3. And they have got better and better as the week has gone by, but I definitely wouldn't go writing Oxygen off just yet.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. They've, again, shown... The thing for me with Oxygen, Des, that they've really shown through this tournament is great resilience. They've shown an ability to have a tough start and then to come back into that and just absolutely dominate those final moments and get themselves through to the playoffs. And that really impressed me about this team. Coming into it, I thought, you know, what are Oxygen about? What are they going to show us here at the Six Invitational? And for me, that has been the big takeaway, that this team is never beaten, and we're certainly not talking about them as if they're even behind here. Let's be honest, we've just got 1 round at the minute. But as I say, with the way that TSM, once they've got pressure applied to a team, once they've got themselves ahead, over the last day or so, they have looked very, very strong in that position. So don't let them get too far in front of you if you are Oxygen. Now then, we're going to have Yoga dropping at the red stairs hatch. He's looking to chase down Achieved. I think he knows that the man is just underneath him, but Achieved is 1 step ahead at this point in time. He's going to get himself down all the way to the bottom floor, and he's going to keep that game of cat and mouse going.
You made the reference before I did. I was about to say it's like a game of cat and mouse, and you literally just stole that one from me, Ace.
Psychic link confirmed.
I'll be reporting a crime for that one. Either way, yes, you are right. I think trying to take this control down from the top floor clear, at least to get themselves anywhere near the site, they're already starting to play not knock on the front door here. More of a push in from Train, rather than the conventional one that you'd often see, which is take top floor, drop maybe through the hatch and try and go for a plant inside of Reading. Feels like at least there is an appetite. I'm not going to say a guarantee, an appetite. That's a very interesting one being bopped out as well. What did they get rid of there? That was the Banshee, I think, that was sat underneath the couch, now blown out in this case. So, okay, not too bad. Getting their way on the moving forwards here. At least that opens up the 90 corridor, or 90 corner, sorry, pushing down red, which means that they can get that surround on Reading if they now want to change things around. It's giving them options at the very least, and those options are being expanded. Getting the Habano hole opened up inside of Reading, looking to make maybe a contestant to anyone playing inside, almost restricting the defenders here and saying, don't worry, you just don't know where we're going to plant at any given time. But to make it happen inside of Fireplace, they've got to get rid of these 2 defenders that are playing on White Ace.
Yoga in an important position there, just looking to cut down the rotate, but gets forced to drop back. Now then, what a headshot through to Achieved. He just sees him through the peak hole that's been opened up in that dining wall and absolutely decimates the Malusi there, just removes head from shoulders and moves on through the round for Oxygen. The kills, they start to rain in, and they're all going in the favour of Oxygen right now. 3 versus 1, 25 seconds left to go. Kino starts to get the diffuser down. He's not going to get timed as Vertical finishes things off with a kill onto Geo. That kill from Yoga, what a shot onto the Malusi. That was absolutely wonderful.
Even got a nice shot in chat, so they knew just how good it was. And here are the questions coming in as well from Laxing, asking, was it a pre-fire or did you hear me? Answer was a pre-fire for those who might be curious at home. I think what I really enjoyed about that round was in the dying 60 seconds, there was no information for Oxygen. They were out of drones entirely. Every single one had been killed, as you might see on the replay here. In fact, there was 1 or 2 just alive at this point, I think, so maybe it was about the 45-second mark that they were all cleared out. But to then be able to push forward, as you're seeing here, and just kind of play off intuition and know, okay, they're probably going to peek this angle. We know that guy's probably going to be holding this position. I know that if we push here, I'll get shot, and therefore you can flank on Reading doorway, as Foxer did. All the little things kind of come together for them. And I'm not going to lie and say part of it is just not so much luck of the draw, but at least relying on the intuition and things kind of coming into or falling into line the way that you want them to. Sure, But again, impressive that you can do so without having to rely on pre-fires or on the information to inform you. Good stuff from Oxygen, bringing things 4-4 square. We joked about overtime at 2-2. It's starting to sound more and more real, Ace.
It's absolutely looking like there is a real potential for heading in that direction, and I like to see that Oxygen came in, took control and won that round. As I say, the last thing they want is for TSM to get in a position to bully them with the scoreline here and to be able to take those additional risks. Right now, TSM, they're going to have to keep things tight, keep things safe here, because they are locked in a death duel at the minute with Oxygen. 4 versus 4, looking to take the strong start here in this best of 3 and get that first map on the board of Cafe.
I saw someone float a question earlier on. I think it was on Twitter. They were like, at what point are we going to start seeing frost bans coming out on Chalet? Now, I know we're not on Chalet. I know we're just in a frost and it feels like a weird time to raise it. But it does prompt a really interesting conversation when you're saying, when does a frost start getting banned? Given how, 6 months ago, everyone would have laughed you off the park for that one. Frost never being picked up. And when she was, it was a bit of a meme.
Frost
and
if
someone walked into a frost map, they were the biggest meme going. I remember it happening in Nordic a couple of times. Everyone had to veto for it, poor guy. And I know that you are a magnet to these
Everybody
things.
laughs at me for it.
Yeah, you're just drawn into it. You're the planter, but you should not run into a frost mat.
I've been saying for years, Des, the reason I go into them is exactly the same reason as the pros do, and that's because I'm so locked into my ADS. I'm always looking for that next kill, you know, and that's why I go into them, not because I'm not paying any attention or not listening to the 10 times I've been told that they're there. Nothing to do with that. But that is why they tend to catch the pros out, because they play a lot of the game, particularly in the late round, in the ADS, ready for those fights, and especially with the changing kit.
Speaking of which,
there you go, coming in on the rappel. There's not the information there to say that there's a frost mat on the ground. He's ready for the fight. He's not checking underneath him, and look at what happens. You lose a man. Now then, 5 versus 2 as the kills rain in for TSM. Good defense from them. Just to finish, we're going to have a little bit of a lull here, I think, as Foxer just slows things down a little bit with Laxing while they try and get some information and a few kills. But the kit is what brought Frost back into the meta, really. We had that update to her equipment, the shield being available, as well as other things, and it's just really made her viable coming in here, and we're seeing a lot more play for the Frost.
That's just it. Viability of her with the changes that came in, particularly the shield and the shotgun. And I think with Mozzie, for example, stepping out the meta ever so slightly once the mute Mozzie meta kind of quietened down. He lost his shotgun as well, which never really helped things. Nice. You need to have as many shotgun operators available as you can for site transformation, and specifically on this site. This shield here, sure, the Smoke's bought one as well, so you couldn't play behind his there. If you want to put one on Pixel, for example, inside a bathroom, there are always going to be options, but this one can be so frustrating to deal with, because chances are there's going to be an ADS sat behind that. If there was a Wamar, you got to deal with magnets as well. It just makes Piano almost impossible to play inside of, and although TSM is sitting back and saying, look, you guys can push forward here, we're not too concerned about the angles that you're starting to take on us, because we know it's a 4 versus 2. In any other situation, those will be defended to the hilt.
Foxer and Laxing know exactly how difficult this is going to be for the time being. They're just trying to tease out these defenders to try and get kills. Foxer did manage to get one onto Bolo, but will be shut down by Geo ultimately. Laxing manages to trade it out, but in a 1 versus 3, you really are hoping against hope there to close the round out. He can't do it. As Achieved will finish that one off, and once again, TSM, they find themselves in the lead by the slimmest of possible margins. There's 5-4 now here on Cafe.
So back and forth. It's what you wanted to see, Ace. No one wanted to step into this and see us be at 6-0 already. We like it when it goes back and forth. And for these two teams, won't lie, there's only one thing that has disappointed me so far. Smack talk. They've been pretty calm and composed. I remember we sat upstairs earlier on for one of the games. I forget which it was, but a Latam team was playing.
It must be Team Liquid, I think.
It might have been Liquid. And I think it was like 2 or 3. It was the first round. It was 2 or 3 seconds from round then. And we just heard, yeah, from downstairs. We're like, oh, what the hell's happened? Like, oh, they're from round 1, Des. I think they're from round 1. That was it. They get so excited about this. And I was talking to the TSM guys over lunch as well, of course. Social distance, don't worry. But they were saying ultimately it's about getting you all excited and energized for the game. When you're all cheering each other on, when you're getting a bit pumped with your opposition, it can really drive you forward. And TSM even said in their interview video, sometimes it can throw your opponents off. We love to see it, but Oxygen are definitely going to calm the pace here, calm the tempo down. Not that it was super high before, by calling in a tactical timeout to have a chat, because there's a couple of rounds now that have gone down to 5 versus 2 for TSM quite early on.
Well, round 10 is a really key round here, Des. It's 5-4 TSM. If TSM get this, they get 2 bites at the cherry to close this one out. They'll have 2 map point opportunities. So Oxygen, as I've said, don't want to give them that sort of buffer, that sort of comfort zone. So really, this is an important key round for Oxygen. So I think a good decision to use that tactical timeout, and just for allowing the coach the opportunity to speak to the players. For anybody, you may be sat watching Siege for the first time thinking, well, what are you on about? The coach is stood behind him. He can tell them. They're not normally allowed to talk to them through the normal passage of the game. You'll see that the microphone is up at the side of the head, and they're not chatting away to the players as it goes. They're only allowed to talk to them during those tactical timeouts, which each team has 1 each through the regular 12 rounds. So I think a good choice from Oxygen there, just to, like you say, slow things down. Let's just, where are we going wrong? Why are we losing these rounds? What have been our weaknesses? How can we avoid that? And I think, the lack of shouting, and I'm not going to say the lack of passion, because there's a lot of passion in this game, but I think it's not just about being calm and collected, Des. I think it just goes to speak to the focus of these two teams at the minute. That is, as much as that energy can be really positive, it can also be a distraction. And I think right now it's just about, I'm not worried about shouting across at these other players, because I don't know which way this game's going to go, and I need to be laser focused here.
Respect to Charlotte, because I'd have been far more tilted at the placement of that Evil Eye on the bottom floor than anyone else. It's almost so perfectly in the middle of the cross, and I'm just like, if only it was dead center, I'd be such a happy man. But speaking of the Maestro and the Evil Eyes, again, look back on the fact that we have the Valkyrie. Big focus on the information game, big focus on denial, not just of information, but also of the hard walls, because we have the Bandit on side. And 4 C4s.
Quick progress from Yoga as he basically runs straight into Bakery there. He's got Kino in tow as well. He's just going to be opening these peak holes. This was something that we saw last time around, but he's going to need to be careful. He doesn't want to find himself getting challenged on the reverse of him, and that is exactly why Yoga is in there. I mean, if we remember last time around, it was Yoga who actually got those kills from above using the reverse angle onto those Maverick peak holes that were opened up by TSM in that case when they were on the attack. This time it's going to be Bolo upstairs on the Valkyrie, looking to do exactly the same. Kino goes to work on the reinforcement into Kitchen. He's going to burn that away with the Maverick and allow Yoga to open it up with his explosive grenades. So good progress here from Oxygen, but that is not ideal. Des Chala comes in with a big outer kill. Headshot through onto Kino. The Maverick is gone. Fortunately, his work is done, but I believe nades were in pocket, so there's some explosives lost there.
Some frustration, I imagine, that you have the DKB on side, and probably everyone is sat around a number of mute jammers here. Of course, it disables the phone call immediately, or if it does ring out and you step into the radius of the mute jammer, it is going to disable the call immediately. So maybe not as effective as it would be another time, but part of me thinks Verda's got this operated because something like a Twitch wasn't what they really wanted. They wanted the smokes to go for a plant, but again, you've just got the long-range gunfights being won. It was Oxygen on the defense in the first half that we commented. They're just sitting back and letting TSM walk at them and taking the long-range fights for free. It's exactly the same being undone back to Oxygen now that they're the ones on the attack. And look at this. It's not going to be the Vigil in this case, but it is going to be someone stepping inside a prep. I was going to say it's not the Vigil holding upstairs, it's the Valkyrie. And here we go. Yoga stepping into this one, gets sprayed down by Bolo from above. He has been absolutely slaying the new kids on the block in this game, it feels like. And now Laxin in a 1 versus 5. Pistol out, will find one to pad the KD, but he's not going to find a second. TSM with round number 10, 6-4 and match point.
TSM just feeling like they've got that extra 5% at the minute, Des, when we look at these two teams squaring off. TSM able now to get themselves that 2-round gap, 6-4, and it is the first time in this matchup that a team has led by 2 rounds. It has been that close throughout this one. TSM find themselves with the advantage, and again, Des coming into Kitchen there. Such a lateral push from Oxygen, just no vertical pressure at all, allowing Bolo to play above, and as you say, it was something that they benefited from, and they've not taken that message to heart. They've not gone in and denied TSM that same advantage, and they've paid for it.
We spoke about a couple of the rounds just being very much so top 4 down to bottom. a couple of times now we've seen this lateral push coming out, and it's been a bit dicey both times where the long-range gunfights have just simply been won out by the defenders, by holding those longer angles, the cheeky little pixel points, and as soon as the attackers step in the sight lines, they are going down. Potentially the final round of the map then being played out, Reading and Fireplace, where we step into. And nothing huge to shout home about in terms of the changes. That Iana on the board once again alongside the Sledge. And on the other side this time round, at least there is the Jaeger. That was missing previously, and they were absolute freebies singing in for the frags.
Certainly were. So this is it. This could be the deciding round for TSM if they're able to get this one over the line. It's going to be Reading Room and Oxygen. They need to show us something different than they have done over the last couple of rounds, Des. For my money, they've just lost out on a few really key gunfights in the last couple of rounds. They've found themselves at a disadvantage, 3 versus 5, 2 versus 4, and just having to struggle their way back into the round. Oxygen need to come out here, a big entry kill, get themselves the advantage, and pile the pressure onto TSM. Make them earn this map, Des. Don't roll over, don't give it to them. Don't allow them to take that early man advantage. Just come in and make their lives a misery.
Pain for Oxygen if it does is that this will be the second time TSM has then beaten them on Cafe. You can see that comfort kind of stepping into it. Next, let's not forget that we step into Oxygen's map pick on Clubhouse before that eventual decider of Chalet, which I am dying to see between these two teams. It is still a delight to watch Chalet play out, especially given that so many teams have barely stepped there before. In fact, I think those teams have played in Chalet. Oxygen with the winner, 7-5. So it's no doubt going to be a spicy one if we get there. Could be as close as this one has looked for the most part.
There we go.
That's the entry that you were asking for, Ace. Yoga finding achieved as he tries to get a little bit cheeky with the C4.
Right, Oxygen, come on. It's time to double down here and find yourself another. Get yourself a serious man advantage here and then push us forward. Make TSM take all 12 rounds as an absolute minimum to close this one out. Oxygen, of course, will be looking for the overtime. Information, I think, being passed to Yoga there to tell him that there is a man in the Maestro spot on Cocktail there as he looks to challenge through the soft surface next to that hard reinforcement. Foxer, he's getting in on this top floor push now. Opens up that bar back storage wall with the sledgehammer, just gives himself these rotation options. It makes it difficult for TSM. Which direction is the attack going to come from? They can't be too sure, and it's Kino who makes that aggressive push forward into Freezer. Looks to clear out the utility on Cocktail there and continue this top floor clearance by opening up the Freezer wall with the Hibana pellets.
Both sides kind of warring to get this opened up at this point. Frag grenade singing over. They want the mute gone. Gone it shall be. So the X-Karos can finally go off. But Tim, they're burning so much time just clearing the top floor here. 2 minutes and 15 seconds consumed, and they're only just starting to look towards Cocktail. There's a Maestro up here. There's still the player playing in the Maestro spot, and then they've got to start about thinking going for an execute. It is going to be last minute do or die. Merc, as said, with Geo down below on the Maestro, still holding firm.
There we go.
Finally gets shot out, and now we see the aggression stepping forward. One comes in. It's a bit of a spray. He can't take 2 gunfights at once. Sadly, only 1 gun despite having 2 eyes, and can't quite split those very well either. 20 seconds, a 4 versus 2. This should be an Oxygen round.
Charla just holding himself in the white corridor at the minute, just biding his time, playing patiently, but patience, Des, is not going to get him anywhere right now as Bolo gets killed. He finds one onto vertical, tries to rotate, shut down by Yoga with the headshot, and that is going to be Oxygen taking us all the way to 12 as an absolute minimum here. They're fighting back on Cafe, Des.
Really good round. I was concerned that there was so much time consumed on the top floor, but once you saw the 2 members bleed out for the side of Oxygen, the other 3 got caught in gunfights incredibly shortly after. If it had been sorted out a little bit more, maybe having a different conversation, but good from Oxygen to play with the clock there, to know what they had to do, to use the utility well.
Great push.
All things.
Great push.
By opening up the double reinforced wall in towards White Corridor. The nades over the top. This push here at the exact time from 2 angles, absolutely beautiful. That's the kind of stuff you expect to see from a team that is serious about winning SI.
That was the key moment. That was the key moment, was the timing of that push onto the Maestro. How many times have we seen a Maestro with an Alder, Des, just hold mouse 1 and spray entire teams down? It was all about the timing. Had that only been a couple of seconds wrong, there is the real potential that that Maestro hits 1, flicks left, hits 2, and just clears out the top floor. And all of a sudden, Oxygen are on the back back foot and potentially even losing Cathy. It was really well orchestrated. More of that. Let's get this going now. Oxygen 5-6. One more round, Des, and we go into overtime.
I love this hold. I think I said the other day when we saw it, it's one of my favorites in the game at the moment, where you have the castle barricade plus the laser gate on the south window. That means you got to consume it through something like a Zofia impact and then burn the laser gate straight after. The one here on the doorway you've just seen reinforced up. First, you've got to burn through the laser gate, then you can get onto the castle barricade. And to make it worse, you've got ADSs inside a cigar shop, you've got the mute jammer, you've got a shield. It's all built around trying to prevent them from getting control of cigar shop, which is basically your landing pad, your staging point, your springboard for all your attacks on the top floor. So for TSM, as it was back earlier on, I think we said this back in round 1 for Oxygen, actually just looking to waste as much time as possible in the early round to make them sweat as it came around to the dying 30 seconds or so.
I mean, this defense is something that was absolute staple for a little while, if you remember. We don't tend to see quite as much of it now. We certainly don't.
Rooney's kind of brought it back.
Yeah, we don't tend to see the castle edition too much. So Gio bringing that in for absolute maximum protection of that player trying to keep himself inside of Cigar. So keep an eye on that. We will, of course, keep you updated as the round goes on. We'll see exactly how quickly and efficiently that can be cleared out. Now, Vertical's going to look to put a nade into the white stairs, I think, but no, he dips away. He just keeps it in his pocket for the time being. But elsewhere, Foxer finds a nade onto Bolo, and Oxygen have the advantage, Des. I asked for entry kills, and they are serving them up.
2 in a row. It's a great way to get yourself in a commanding position. I think Bolo wasn't the player playing inside a cigar shop. Normally it'll be the smoke, since you can burn through those smoke canisters to waste even more time as you hear the first one of those get committed. They're going to make use here of the 2 charge on the pellets of the X-Kairos to burn through that laser gate, and now can think about burning through the rest if they want to. However, I was going to say you've got to be so mindful of the player that is inside of storage. If they swing out at the right time as you're focusing on that south window or on the double door, chances are you're going to lose your life in doing so.
Merc just trying to hold his angle inside a washroom at the minute, but one who can't hold an angle, Des, is Chala, as Yoga manages to find the kill there. 5 versus 3, and the young players on the side of Oxygen here really having a field day, but Foxer getting involved as well with his second kill on the round. That's going to be Merc, and this one's heading for overtime, Des. You can see it coming. It's now 5 versus 2. This is going all the way. Gio's going to take damage as he tries to challenge with the UMP. He can't do it as the dynamic duo of Laxin and Foxer finish off the round, and Oxygen, they have, against the odds a little bit, Des, got those final 2 rounds. It looked like it was going in the favour of TSM, but they've been able to lock it down. They've been able to take us through to round 13. We're going into overtime.
So impressive coming out from Yoga, kicking things off in the round with a couple of kills swinging his way. After the nade kill, took total control of the mid-round and just pulled it towards that 4 versus 2, the 5 versus 2, the absolute domination coming out for the side of Oxygen. We sit at 6 and 6. TSM start on the defense here in overtime, and as you saw on the screen a second ago, they have called the tactical pause. They want a conversation because those last 2 rounds, they slipped through their fingers like water, Tim.
They really, and I think, again, it's well timed. We've seen that. What a nice nade coming in from Foxer. Gotta say, it's so nice just being able to see all the kills back as well.
So easy.
You know, the ones that we don't see throughout the round. The observing's been absolutely fantastic. But of course, you know, there's no dream world that we live in where we can catch absolutely every single one of these live. So being able to see them all back at the end of the round and see just how they went down is it's wonderful.
That critical kill of breaking open Cigar Shop is what got the round underway. And that was a combo of the Habana initially on the west window, and then Yoga getting onto the south one and blowing open that castle shop setup. Once you've removed the smoke player from there, your attackers can get in. You can start an attack as you normally would, but so critically for them, they killed the pixel player from the white window. They killed the smoke player from the south window. Pretty much everything was happening from outside the building. It wasn't really a focus on let's get in and go and push them hyper aggressively. Just TSM have found themselves in difficult positions where grenades could do the work or impacts could come out, for example. That's the weakness of that strategy when you rely a little bit too heavily on the Aruni laser gate behind you as well as the castle barricade. Once the south window is exposed, there's enough utility on the attackers generally, especially in a meta where Ashe Sophia is so strong that you can breach that open with no problem at all.
Oh, Des, this overtime is so close. It has gone 3-all in both halves. There is no advantage to be found in either defense or attack.
We called it.
We did.
At 2-2.
45 rounds, anyone?
You want to just call it at the start of the next one? Round 1. Oh, overtime, mate. It's coming. Imagine if it turns into one of those 45-round games. There's a history between me and Ace that many don't know. I think the first event we ever cast together was a very small LAN in the UK, and it was a 4.5-hour, 45-rounder series?
Yeah, it was.
There will be many players in the UK or attendees who are present there who will remember that series, because I thought, good Lord, that is an absolute slog. For a single series, 4.5 hours. It wasn't even a best of 5.
It was a lot of fun, put it that way. It was a lot of fun. We saw every single round possible. And I think everybody at home, after the entertainment that we've had out of this one so far, wouldn't complain at getting that out of Oxygen and TSM now. They are both fighting absolutely tooth and nail, Des. They know how close this matchup's going to be. They know how important every single round of every single map is here on this one. And they want to be the NA representative that continues going forward here in the Six Invitational. That is what is at stake here. The loser goes home, and the remaining team is the only one left for NA's hopes.
You got to think about it if you're a LATAM team watching this as well. If a team had come out and absolutely dominated the other, you probably have a little bit of fear thinking, all right, God, fair play. You know, they mean business here and we need to be careful of them. The longer the series goes on, one, the more rounds the players are going to have played, probably the more tired they'll be feeling going into the next series tomorrow. Two, the more you get to learn about them. I think for the LATAM teams, you can sit here and go, right, we've seen potentially 15 rounds of strats, setups, attacking patterns, everything you could ask for that they've been employing at SI. And in a case like this, both teams are forced to deploy everything. There can be no strat saved of, maybe we make it to the final and then we bring this out. No, you have to bring it out here, because if you lose this series, you're going home.
Right, Des, what is going on upstairs? That is my question this time around. Oxygen, once again, thank you, Easy. He's going to show us exactly what's going on upstairs. And right now I'm concerned because Oxygen are not clearing it out, Des. They lost out last time to Bolo in guess what position, Des?
The exact same one.
The exact same one. He was upstairs and he was able to just rain down. Now then, there is a man on the rappel. It looks like Foxer on the sledge. If I had to guess from the silhouette, it certainly is. In goes the nade, and that's the challenge that we wanted, Des. I don't want TSM able to play for free up there.
No.
Kino, no! Gets himself with the nade there. Must have just been overcooked or taken a bad bounce back towards him. Bolo finds the kill onto Foxer, and this is all falling apart for Oxygen, but Vertical, he manages to get in and get the vertical kill onto Bolo achieved. He finds one. Vertical yet again trading out, but he can't do enough, Des. He can't do it all by himself. It's down to Yoga. 1 versus 3. He's got the diffuser in hand. He's got 40 seconds. Time is on his side.
1 versus 2 as well, because the other one went down in this case, so it's not impossible to do. But through that picture in the top left corner of your screen, you can see where the other two sit towards Restaurant. He's going straight in for the plant, though. Do they know here? They are moving, they're mobilising, they're stepping forwards. Got to know where they are. One out towards the left. What a flick! One more left. Can he see the head? Oh my God, he missed him by a fraction. Oh my God, it's turning into chaos, but Achieve wins it. TSM take round 13, but for Yoga, the almost clutch was there. What a moment that would have been for him.
He'll know how close he was, Des. He got a sniff of that last man, but he just couldn't find him. Well played from Achieved. He made himself difficult to nail down. He just moved one way, then the other, gave him the juke, gave him the sidestep, gave him the razzle-dazzle, Des, and he finds that final kill to close it out for TSM 7-6. They've got themselves the advantage yet again. They've got another match point opportunity. Can Oxygen fight their way back into this again?
Kino. That's one that's going to haunt you for a while. Oh, I mean, 5 versus 3, you would have said at that point, oh, for TSM, this is easy. They can walk this over the finish line, ain't going to grow aggressive. Even in the 3 versus 1, you get a little bit excited. But this kill on the jump through as he comes out, making that the 4 versus 2 is the spicy one. And for Yoga, you wanted to believe. You wanted to see him pull that one off there, just for the story, if nothing else, especially with a flick like that. It was disgusting onto Merc. But then, of course, Achieve steps up as the second boss, the one that evolves and forms before you, and it's hard to win those ones. It comes down to chance on who looks where first at the right time, and unfortunately for Yoga, he doesn't win it out. TSM 7-6. This is Oxygen's last chance, Ace. They've got to win this one. And I've quietly been excited to see them step back onto the defense, because Foxer, we know what he likes doing. He's got hold of a C4. Is he going to be cheeky enough to go for an early kill with that one, just to try and upset the apple cart for TSM?
Des, we've neglected the scoreboard a little bit. I'm just having a look at the scoreboard here, and there are kills everywhere. There is nobody having a ridiculously quiet game. Charles down on the lowest at 5, but still.
He's 5 to 7, and that's air quotes
exactly.
quiet.
You know, he's 5 and 7, and what? That's quiet? Absolutely not. And you know, you've got to think about the job that he's fulfilling within the team as well. Gio's up there on 9. There is everybody getting involved here. There are 10 players just wailing on each other inside of the server, and we are the benefactors.
I love that, by the way. Merc stayed on the rappel, waiting for the drones to hit the roof so they could tell him if the hatches were open, because if they were, he was dropping down like a stone from that roof. He was definitely not going to be getting himself locked into a rappel animation once he starts vaulting over the top of the wall. But disaster averted. Foxer isn't feeling particularly foxy today. Maybe that can be for the next map. 2 minutes 10 remaining. They're inside the building, so a lot of time to play with, but also a lot of map to clear through, Tim.
Merc quickly making progress here, as we can see the drones just absolutely flying around in front of him and just feeding all that information back, allowing him to move confidently, knowing that that top floor is clear. He's going to head straight into the mid floor and look to clear that out as well. And this is what we didn't see from them last time on the kitchen attack, Des, coming in and making sure that those top 2 floors were clear before they proceeded down towards site.
There's a lot of early focus as well when you look at it this way, in that they had 3 drones droning in, not their entry fragger, but their support player, because they knew getting Merc onto the walls that needed to be opened ASAP. Hatches, walls, whatever you want to look at here, they needed him there ASAP. And that's exactly what he has gone for here inside of the museum corridor. Now it's time to think about the vertical angles that you need here. This is why this wall gets reinforced, by the way. The vertical angle from this particular angle that you can hold it off from the north, you can do a lot of damage from there into the red hallway and stop rotates back to site later into the round, so keep a close eye on them. The vertical play may yet come to help TSM. They've got 60 seconds to play with their ace. It's now or never, really. In a 5 versus 5, this is going to get bloody.
TSM absolutely removing that floor in, Des. They're looking to find some joy through the joists as they work for those vertical angles. However, it's going to be Foxer to open things up. Shotgun onto Bolo, 5 versus 4. And we've seen a real ability for Oxygen to close out rounds when they get those opening kills. TSM are going to have to turn the tide if they want to do so. Gio's just walked into Freezer here. Desi's in there for free. I'm not sure Oxygen know about this, and if they try to rotate or move around site, they could find themselves struggling. Now Chala, he's in there along with Gio, and he's looking to challenge. They've dropped the hatch. Gio's going to get the diffuser going down. Now then, the challenge comes in onto the Maestro. Cammy gets it, and this is important cover from Kino and Foxer as they manage to prevent that diffuser going down. Chala cannot support Gio in getting it activated. Laxing finds Merc, and all of a sudden it's 1 versus 3 achieved. Can't close it out this time. Shut down by Kino. We're going to 15, Des.
Anyone feeling a 45-rounder? It feels like it can boil up that way with how close it's stacking up between these teams across rounds. Round 15 to settle out Cafe, and I think Oxygen will be a bit like, oh, why? Because in this case, it's TSM on the defense, and defense is where we have seen the most success, at least in overtime. It was 3-3 at the end of either half, so a bit of balance in that sense, but in the last 2 rounds, at least, it has been all the way of the defenders. They choose to go to bar and cocktail. The Frost is on the field once again. The other side, the Yana stepping in, as we've come to expect. But a bit of a revisit in this round. I was shocked when they managed to get 2 inside of Freezer without the player that was inside VIP. I think it was Vert. Wasn't stepping across to contest. It's the reason why you leave that Freezer wall softest, so you can spray behind it from the shield when someone drops in. Or more commonly, you'll have a smoke playing inside of VIP, just chucking those smoke canisters in to force them out of the room and force them into lines of fire being held by the other defenders. But well held either way. Oxygen just said, look, you guys have the freezer, not a problem. As soon as you step out of that room, though, you're going down.
Interestingly, Des, we are heading to the top floor. If we look at TSM's previous defensive half, they defended it twice, round 9 and round 12. And we get no closer to knowing who's going to win, Des, because it was 50-50. It was 50-50. TSM won the first round, round 9. Now, interestingly, they got the opening kill. Round 12, OXG won. And interestingly, Des, they got the opening kill. The entry battle could be crucial here.
20% boost on round win rate if you find the entry kill. Imagine that. You kill one player and take them down by 1/5 of their size, and you get a 20% gain. It's almost like those numbers are designed to marry up to each other, something quite special. For TSM, it's going to be this storage hole once again, mind you, as well as having all of the bathroom walls softened up. So they have, well, not all of it, I think it's just half. You want to have the left side reinforced so you have something to play behind, but enough that you can contest inside a piano. So again, all about trying to waste time for the attackers, stop them getting easy control of piano, restrict them to playing just inside a cigar shop, and from there they kind of get a little bit stuck. They have to break Pixel open wide, they have to try and do something inside of storage. But I always think back to the earlier round Execute when it came down to the dying, 45 seconds, we were like, man, there's no way they can do this. And sure enough, they pushed through with an excellent Execute, completely destroy the remaining defenders on the top floor and managed to kill the rest on the second, all within the space of about 30 seconds.
Here we go, there's 2 minutes left. Jogger is established on those red stairs. In goes the drone. We've got vertical on the Iana on the east side. So it looks like we could have at least a 2-dimensional push coming in here from Oxygen, as they may try to push on to both sides, although we do see the Iana up on the rooftop now, so it looks like vertical is going to join this vertical pressure. Now Bolo, he's going to open things up with the kill onto Kino, and as we said last time around, it was round 9, Des. TSM, they got the opening kill and they won that defensive round of Bar and Cocktail. That is a big advantage for them that Bolo manages to secure. 5 versus 4. We're halfway through the round. Oxygen, they need this next kill, Des.
They absolutely do. They've started doing work inside a piano here, getting rid of the shield, opening up the piano wall. Oh, the spray comes out. That's a big one from Yoga. Bolo found it, but it's traded back immediately. We'll call that one all even for now, unless you look at the fact that Oxygen are in the 4 versus 3, or more specifically, the 3 versus 4 for them, and 60 seconds still to play. TSM can just hold here. Play it patient, boys. There's no need to go hyper-aggressive. Let them walk at you and pick up the kills. Maybe you want to go for a peek here as they're seeing this long angle throughout the whole entirety of Cafe. They connect this one onto Yoga, who's been such a prolific fragging force so far for Oxygen. You start asking questions of, can anyone save them in the 2 versus 4?
Yoga looking to aggress.
Oh no!
Into the white corridor, Des, but Vertical's going to get found out by one of those frost mats. How many times have we seen it in behind the cigar shop counter? And he falls foul of it, gets his leg trapped. 28 seconds left to go. Yoga once again trying to push forward into that white corridor. He's going to be hit with the Banshee, he's going to be hit with the bullets, Des, as the damage starts to rain in. It is not looking good for Oxygen right now. TSM, they are rotating here as Achieve comes up the white stairs. He's going to make the push, and Oxygen, they stuck, Des. There's nowhere for them to go as this turns into a slaughter. Merc finds the kill onto Vertical. Laxing manages to get one back onto Achieve, but with 3 seconds left to go, it is all but a formality for Merc to close out this round, Des. TSM, they win Cafe. They take the early advantage in this best of 3, and I think I'm not the only one who's going to need a little oxygen after that map, Des. I am out of breath, I'm out of energy, and that one was an unbelievable starter to this series.
Time to get yourself to bed, old man, after the next 2 maps potentially are finished. TSM with a phenomenal defense in that final round. We speak about these holes being opened up that look onto piano, and you know it's going to slow you down. It's going to waste time, and once you find a kill or 2, it's basically lights out for the attackers. It was the war of white corridor, and TSM were the ones who come out quite convincingly victorious there. But let's go over to our experts to break down map number 1.